Hello and welcome. If this is your first time tuning into the channel, because we're starting up a new game today, I am streaming this live to Twitch under the username Willcall and uploading the local recording to YouTube under the username Willcall100. Today we're playing the Solar Expanse Demo. Solar Expanse right now is in early access. It's sort of a space colonization manager game. So this is the early access sort of development road page of what they're expecting to have out in the final release game. Obviously, we're only playing the demo here, so once I click off of this, I'll bring up some certain things about the demo that is different from the early access version if you've actually purchased the game. But yeah, they're planning on adding things like other systems to play in, megastructures, advanced space stations, a loan system, because the current game is basically just gives you a fixed amount of money, and you have ways to earn and spend the money. The ability to do robotic workforce and statistics, and a bunch of other things I haven't announced yet. Yeah, this is Solar Expanse. This is, as you can see down in here, the demo version of the game. The demo version of the game, I believe, allows you to play for 30 years in the default starting solar system, so default Earth solar system. So obviously, this Let's Play will be 30 years long, and because this is also the demo version, there are differences between the demo version and the early access version. One of the notable ones you'll see probably pretty early on, if you've seen people play the early access version, is that the moon, I believe, has been updated in the early access version to have a metal deposit. So there is no metal deposit here in the demo version. It changes a little bit of how you can play early game, but that's the only thing that I know of that is different between this and the early access version as of now. They are different version numbers. The demo version, I think, isn't being updated, whereas the early access version is, and they're actively updating it in some ways. Let's get into starting a new game here. Right now, the game has 5 different choices to pick from. We have Solix here, which has improved reusable rockets and Hydrolux engines. Starts with additional fuel production. And this is starting research. So they start with the reusable rockets, and the Hydrolux engine is already unlocked. The second being sort of the more thematic of the two choices, because the Hydrolux engines are reasonably expensive to research. We've got NASA, which starts with nuclear power and propulsion. Also starts with some hydrogen production. And by propulsion here, it means nuclear power propulsion. So it starts with nuclear power and nuclear power propulsion. It starts with hydrogen production. You do need hydrogen production to work the nuclear power propulsion specifically, because there are drives where you're basically pushing hydrogen through the nuclear power plant. We've got ESA, or also known as the European Space Agency. They have a bunch of electric engine-related stuff and some computing technologies. They start with a research lab. The start with a research lab is not super important. You can basically build one day one if you wanted to. I probably would recommend delaying it for a couple days, because there's a couple other things you want to get done. Whereas ESA would start with it on Earth. Although, again, big early start with the electric engines. And computing technologies, I think, is a research buff. Everyone else would effectively have to research that research buff to catch up with you, like ESA. You have CNSA, so this is the China space program. Starts with improved mining, starts with mining facilities. How valuable that is up to how you're going to play. Right now, I'd probably say in the demo and the beta, this is probably not very powerful. And then you have Roscosmos here. They started with space farming and hydroponic farms. This is something you're probably going to research fairly early on anyway, so the Roscosmos is, at the moment, not very strong of a start. So most of the people I've seen have been playing probably one of these first 3s. I've seen someone playing this, another YouTuber playing this, and I've seen another YouTuber, in fact, probably a more popular YouTuber than me, doing ESA. So I'm going to not do the ESA, because they're doing a much better job than I would be doing at ESA. At least sort of not spreadsheeting it as hard as they're doing. I'm also playing on the demo version, which again has different sort of starting situations on Earth. I'm a little tempted to do NASA, but I think we'll keep it easy. Well, not exactly easy, but we'll keep it Solex. The concept of a very fuel-centric playthrough, I think, is Very different from the person I know who's doing ESA. So let's go ahead and do Solix. Again, we're in the demo, so some things are going to be different from if you've got the early access version of the game. Notably, we are going to be playing basically on the time constraints of we're going to do as much as we can in 30 years, because the demo ends in 30 years. I believe regardless of whether you're doing early access or the demo at this time, you only have access to the realistic solar system. The rest is still being developed. But they've got a couple examples of what they're going to have in there. And then same sort of thing with the early exploration. I think everyone's stuck to early exploration here. Although they're working on the later eras as well. And I think once you reach certain milestones, it will tell you you've unlocked the other starting dates. I'm going to turn the tutorial off. The tutorial, or by disabling the tutorial, I'm disabling the most hand-holdy portions of the tutorial. Doesn't change really much of anything else. I'm going to turn the rival corporations on. One way to earn money is you sell stuff to the other corporations. So having them exist, yes, does slightly increase their competition for the space resources. But most notably just giving us more opportunity to sell stuff. And we'll revisit the audio balance once we get into the game here. This is actually the second take on recording the YouTube portion of this video, because I found the baseline audio on the loading page to be a little loud. So we'll see if the music audio stays so loud. And if you're watching this on YouTube, this is the lowered volume. I think I halved the volume for the music. And it might be a little, as a side effect, it might be a little quiet once we're in game. So, important info. This is actually probably not super important. Welcome, Director. Your mission is to lead us to the conquest of the solar system and beyond. We're about to schedule our first flights into space, then to the moon, and then other planets. Eventually we'll colonize, terraform, perhaps one day venture out to the stars. I'll be your assistant. Look for tutorial information in the top left corner, and we've turned the tutorial off, so it's not going to be super heavy, or dense with that. First orbit. So the first thing it's trying to tell us is send up a space telescope from Earth, directly Earth orbit, and have it observe Luna. Yeah, this is the solar system. If you haven't seen the solar system before, we've played Terra Invicta on the channel, so you've probably seen the solar system. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and for some reason I'm not able to zoom out enough to get a good look at Neptune or Pluto, but they're out there. So right now, let's go ahead and take a look at the tech tree. So the tech tree is broken up into various different groups. Notably up here at the top, we have good old computing. The first couple techs you automatically start with and have 0-day costs, and then once you get past those, you get into the point where we're looking at techs that actually do stuff. These are all, in this category, in computing, are all going to be research boost techs, so they're all faster research rates. Because I'm playing the demo, and the demo only lasts 30 years, a lot of these aren't worth doing in the demo. They're probably worth doing in the alpha, or in the early access alpha, or the beta, or whatever it's called. But we're going to be playing, I think, a little over 1,000 days. So a 1% research boost is about 100 research days worth of time, and it costs 900 days to do. So in the demo, these aren't worth doing. Yeah. These are options that eventually, if you're playing the game normally, probably pay off. So you might want to try to do those when you've got nothing else to do, at least enabling-wise. We've got electric propulsion. If you're running sort of the good old European Space Agency and the ESA start, I believe you start with a couple of the electric propulsion ones already complete. You might start with hull thrusters, but yeah, start with a couple of these complete. These are thrust and exhaust velocity modifiers to electric engines. At the moment, there's functionally only 3 of them in the demo. There might be 4 in the early access. I'm not sure. Been a while since I watched someone else play it. Exhaust velocity for sort of hard science space transit sort of math is sort of the fuel efficiency of your reaction propellant. So you want that number to be as high as possible, so this makes your electric engine, this line basically makes your electric engines better. Electromagnetism is mostly here for maintenance reduction, mild bonuses to some of the industries. The only big one in here that we'll probably research at some point, if we can get to it, is remote power, receiver, and emitter. Twitch saying, at least they've included Pluto as one should. Well, it's a dwarf planet. This game has asteroids, so if you're going to include the asteroids, you got to include the dwarf planets. But yeah, Pluto, even after it got reclassified as not a planet, Pluto got reclassified as the largest of the dwarf planets. So it's the big dwarf. Yeah, so we got electromagnetism category in here. This is probably the one we would be most interested in that category. Nuclear propulsion. At some point or nuclear power, at some point we'll come in here probably from the nuclear reactor itself. If we got enough time, but we'll probably try to stay away from the nuclear propulsion. A little bit more likely to go into electric propulsion, although nuclear propulsion itself is maybe tempting. Again, we only got 30 years, so we're not going to be able to do everything in the deck tree here. This line, I think everyone starts all the way up to telescope. Yeah, telescope. So other than exoplanet detection, which I don't think does anything in the demo, at some point there's going to be exploration of other solar systems, which you want this for. Power, all the basic power techs, geothermal, orbital power station and receiver, solar power, which everyone starts with, wind power, and a tech to improve the solar panel. There's the fusion line. No one starts with the fusion line, but this is where all the fusion drives are, and much like the electric engine line, this is where your thrust velocity bonfires come in. We went with the one that's sort of chemical rocket focused, so we're going to have a little bit more in this line, which is the chemical propulsion. So we're all the way up to hydrolox. I think everyone else starts on methalox instead. But again, you can see exhaust velocity, and in this category we also have launch vehicle cost reduction. So launch vehicles cost fuel to launch, so we're getting, because we have hydrolox, we get our launch vehicles to be about 10% cheaper to launch. At some point, if we have the time, we'll want to research these two as well, because we're going to be doing a lot of chemical rockets, at least early on. And this is chemical engine exhaust velocity. So this is the fuel efficiency of our chemical engines for interplanetary transit, as well as costs getting things off the planets. So we can take it from a minus 10% to minus 40% if we stack all four or all three of them. So if we can do that, that'd be nice, but that's 4,300 days to get both. And again, I think the demo, because it's only 30 years, is only 1,000, just short of 1,100 days. Or no. 365 plus 0, 11,000. Just short of 11,000 days. So we have enough time to do this if this is the only thing we're doing. We'll try to pick up some tech speed adjustments so we can get things going faster. So we'll probably get this done. Launch facilities. We start with launch pad. We probably want to build the launch pad. We at some point might want spin launch just to lower costs for getting stuff to orbit. This is a way to use power instead of some fuel to get stuff to orbit, a little more fuel efficient that way. Although, again, if we run up the chemical propulsion line, we're saving fuel there. We probably don't have time to do the full-on mega project run of getting up to space elevators in the demo, but that's an option for trying to save fuel getting things to orbit. Electromagnetic catapults for tossing things between planets. Launch vehicles, we start off with improved reusable rockets. This is making our reusable rockets for getting things to orbit cheaper both to build and, I believe, to maintain. Faster to build. Cheaper to build and faster to build. So that's the maintenance cost of all our launch vehicles. So there's a couple in here that we might want to pick up. Probably don't want to do the Condor, but we got a couple different options in here. And then the other line is the super heavy, like, in atmosphere and nuclear launch capable rockets. And then we got materials. We probably will need to do some research in materials. Trying to think if there's any of them in here. Although, again, these are the ones that we don't need to do. Yeah, we want to get up to electronic facility, for example. Might just be the electronics that we're trying to get to in here. Yeah, at some point we'll put that in the queue, and this will be something we aim for. So we can make electronics in space. Start with in situ resource utilization, which is all our basic mining things. In here somewhere, I think is... There's the fissile mine. So at some point we'll have to do fissiles and helium. They're farther up the mining tree. We'll probably want to do solar sails. We might not necessarily do a lot in solar sails, because I'm going to... obviously, it's a 30-year demo, and the solar sails are a little bit slow. We have spacecraft. This is where I'm going to actually start queuing up some research. So I'm going to queue up the Hermes, or the Stratos. This is our, as it says, the reusable upper stage capable of taking off from other planets, and more importantly, capable of going to other planets. This is a 60-day research to basically allow us to go to other planets, and we'll work towards the Hermes as well. Yes, we'll queue that up as well. Another 360 days. So the Hermes here stands as sort of the main workhorse of the electronic drive engined ships. You've got the nuclear line and you've got the fusion line. I don't think we have time to get into the fusion line here. I may end up researching Selene and Athena later on, but we're going to try to do most of the work here with Stratoses. I suspect as the game gets developed, we'll probably see some more fueled rockets instead of, in addition to more electric engines and nuclear and stuff. Right now, we've basically got one fuel rocket, two large electric engines, and then most of the stuff is nuclear and fission driven rockets. So we're going to get those done. Another thing we're going to work towards is space farms. So we'll add this to the queue. We're going to want that fairly early on. And then obviously a lot of the texts in here are either decreasing the consumption of supplies or increasing the production or making it cheaper to build. So a lot of these are goods to have, but you don't need to get them early game. And in the demo, we might overlook them because they're not qualitative texts that enable us to do stuff. Then we got life support, which again is supply consumption, reductions, crew required by facilities, as well as the bigger crew compartments. We might try to do some of the bigger crew compartments just because we want the ability to bring more crew, or more mass efficient transfer of crew, right? So this is 15 tons to transport 20 people versus the small one, which is 5 tons to transport 5 crew. And then you got the larger one, which is 100 crew on a 60-ton transit, right? Although where we put that in the queue, I'm not sure. I think we are happy with the queue as is. You know, alternative sources of power. And obviously, those also sources of power? Yeah, that's giving us power. Oh no. Yeah, it says it produces power by burning carbon. Oh, it's just missing the symbol in the power there. That's why I'm having difficulty reading it. Yeah. And this is the section for terraforming. I assume as they develop the game, it might not ever show up in the demo, but as they develop the game, they said there's going to be mega projects, so there's probably going to be more in the terraforming section. And we have planetary habitats down here, which is the last category in the tech as we're going through the tech. You basically start off with basic outposts and habs. I think you put outposts everywhere. Habs have some restrictions on them. Underground habs have some restrictions on them. You can only put them in places where there's radiation. And we have Dome City Dome Habitat, which, again, I think have restrictions. So this has got a pressurized volume, so this is a place that you can... Really big one you can put somewhere where you've got no atmosphere, for example. I think City requires a certain level of terraforming core to be complete. And then you have sort of the rotating hand line for doing stuff around the gas giants. Yeah, we're gonna work in basically get our Stratus, get our Hermes, go to space farming. Let me get the electronics lab in the queue, or the electronics production facility in the queue as well. And then we'll probably get to doing stuff. Oh, it went past it, that's why I'm not finding it. Here we go. And we're not running fission early on, so I think I'm just good with. Oh, and we probably want exotic allies inside this queue. So we got ourselves a pretty decently large queue here. That we'll slowly start working our way through as we get to playing the game. So now that I've sort of discussed the tech tree, we've gone through the whole tech tree. Let's get to Earth and Earth orbit. So the tutorial here, and we'll kind of human the tutorial here. We'll set up the tutorial's mission. Wants us to launch a space telescope to orbit so that we can look at the moon. So this sort of tutorializing how do we figure out where resources are in space, and the answer is initially with space telescopes pointing at bodies. So we want Earth to Earth orbit. We're going to be using an orbital payload container for the moment. Keep it nice and simple. We're going to be transporting the space telescope. We're going to be transporting on a Sparrow, which has a capacity of 10 tons. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of other tasks, and I'm going to drag some stuff up to space. Specifically, I think I'm going to go ahead and drag up 8 tons of alloys. Not much, 8 tons, but this is sort of getting ahead of the game. The quest is leading us through the process of stuff, and I don't necessarily see the need to underload, especially the non-reusable rockets. So the Sparrow is a single-use rocket. So I'm going to send it up with 10. So if we click on it now, we can see we have a planned mission from Earth to Earth orbit that'll launch on the 9th of January, and it is the 6th of January. So in 3 days, that will launch. In the meantime, we do have an open capacity to be building more on Earth, so let's get to doing that. So we're going to start off with the construction equipment. So we're going to use the construction equipment. Or anywhere where you've got workers, the workers can build one thing. Construction equipment itself can build a thing. So what we're going to try to do is we're basically going to use the workers to build the construction equipment so we can build 2 things instead of 1 thing. And then, thinking ahead to a future quest, we're going to need a probe. So I'm going to queue up a probe to be produced, and then the construction equipment. So we accelerate, so we go from building 1 thing to 2 things to 3 things. You can probably get the hint on what direction we're going with that. At which point, we will probably want to be thinking about things that are going to take a little bit longer to get done. I do have launch facilities here that I can get. I forget whether we just have the launch. Yeah, there's the vehicle assembly. So we're going to vehicle assembly under construction, a launch pad under construction, and another construction equipment under construction. So we're going from building 1 thing, building 2 things, building 3 things. We're going to move on to building 4 things, although the vehicle assembly is going to take quite a while. It's a 300-day process. The launch pad will be done reasonably quickly. And what else do I want to get launched fairly early on here? Or built early on? Probably the research lab, so we'll get the research lab queued. We'll come back to maybe doing some of the facilities to do some refinement going on. Right now we're making water into fuel. That's the only thing we're making, although the world government is producing some other stuff. So I could be launching an orbital construction to space instead of building in space. Sure, we'll go ahead and queue one of those up. So 1, 2, 3. Let's do double construction module and go a little bit faster at that point. And then we're going to actually start to slow down construction. I'm going to get some mining modules going at that point. We are reaching the point where we've gone through most of the resources that we start with on the planet. That's fine. We can always buy more. We got 4.99 million worth of purchasing power. And the quest here, First Orbit, is itself going to give us another 15k. So we're not too worried about running out of money right now. But I think that's a good early starting queue for stuff that we want to build as far as spacecraft. We probably want to start on some more spacecraft. So let's go ahead. I'm going to quickly grab a Falcon into a... Oh, I'm going to do a Falcon to an Iris into an Eagle. That way we've got some reusable rockets to replace the single-use ones it gives you early in the mission line here. At which point we're going to let the time actually start to pass. It took me 26 minutes since the intro here to get to actually letting the game move, but we are moving the game. And 3 days later, as predicted, we get our launch. So, again, a little bit of hand-holding on the tutorial here. We're being sort of coerced into interacting with our newly launched satellite here. I can click on it. Yeah, it'll work. Exploration. We got an observatory in Earth. It's asking for someplace to observe. We want to... Yeah, here we go. Wanted to observe Luna. Yes. Notify a new discovery. Accept. And there's the first quest completed, which is Explore Luna. Contracts. Explore Luna. We cannot hope to reach farther if we don't start in our closest neighborhood. It is time to send a probe to Earth's companion. Prepare a spacecraft to deliver a probe to Luna. It will allow us to search for resource deposits on the lunar surface. So, the satellite we put up, the what's it called? The observatory that we've set up, is going to let us look and see what we think the deposits might be. The probe will then go, once we've delivered it to the moon, and actually determine how accessible they are. And how big they are. So it wants us to build an Iris, it wants us to build a probe, and then deliver that probe from Earth directly to Luna, which is why you need the Iris, otherwise you don't have enough transport capacity. Right now, if we haven't built the Iris, we have nothing that can go past Earth orbit. I've obviously delayed this a little bit, and it's actually gifted us a Sparrow, so we've got another Sparrow, so we could easily launch the Iris. I've delayed that until we get the Falcon launched, or Falcon built, but that'll be fine. So we're going to be waiting 93 days for a quest we could technically finish in 30. And then we've also delayed the construction of the probe because I wanted to get a second construction equipment going. So let's get time passing so we can let those build so we can work on the second quest. And a couple other people probably did the same that we didn't put their satellites in orbit. In fact, we can click on orbit and see what people have up here. So we've got telescope, and everyone else has their telescope up. We've passed enough time, the construction equipment is finished, so we're now building 2 things on Earth instead of 1. And we can see that it's finding things on the moon. Let's pause and see, has it finished finding things? There's still one more thing we expect to be find there, but we can say we have helium, we've got silicon, we've got fissiles. Oh, we've even got approximate sizes of the deposits. I think the last one is water. It's going to tell us there's water there at some point. Okay. Water to be found there. Okay, so there's our research into Stratos. One of the later contracts is going to tell us to do that. And in fact, I know so much that we're going to want a Stratos that I will go ahead and put a Stratos in the queue. It's fairly far down the queue, so it's going to be a while before that gets built, but we're going to want at least one Stratos. In fact, we'll probably want more than one Stratos. Our probe is built. Our Falcon is built. So it's now going to start in the Iris. The Iris will be done in 26 days. And again, we're working on 3 things. One of them is construction equipment. We got the launch pad that will be done reasonably quickly in 79 days. It's going to save us more fuel. I believe it's a 10% savings on fuel. So sort of stacked with our starting bonuses with this 10% plus another 10%. So we're actually going to be down to 80% costs. I think in the demo, you can get all the way down to 50% if you're stacked up all the bonuses. Later versions may adjust that. Oh, I suppose one thing I could do is, because I have the Iris in production, I could probably plan the mission using it. So let's start thinking about planning it. So we're going from Earth. We want to go to the moon. Yeah, nice and simple. Spacecraft are vehicles designed for traveling between planets and orbits. They vary greatly in thrust and efficiency, with some being able to launch from lower gravity worlds unassisted, while others can travel great distances with minimum fuel. They are the primary way of transporting cargo and crew between places. Okay. So we can see in our queue here that we've got the Iris that will be done in 7 days. This is what we're going to use as the spacecraft for the transition over to Luna, or this one thing that we're moving. We're going to add a module, which is the probe. I'll also drag up 1 ton of thing because the Iris can carry 2 tons. Normally you use that for probes because that's all it's going to basically be able to carry. But the probe only weighs 1 ton, so we've got a spare ton. I'll bring a ton of supplies. Get some food there for when the humans arrive. And of course, we need to get to that space. Right now, it makes the most sense to use the Sparrow that has sort of been gifted us by the main quest. I could potentially have the Falcon doing it. Yeah, sign that thing. Again, I don't mind there being extra fuel on the moon. Although I'm not going to send it with the extra fuel. I'm going to send it with the minimum amount of fuel. So you do get sort of the tyranny of the rocket equation here. The more fuel you're bringing along, the more the fuel is being spent to move the fuel, right? So if we have it fully loaded with fuel, it's going to spend 9 kp or km, or yeah, 9 kilometers per second. Yeah, kilometers. 9 kilometers per second. KMS is one way to describe it. KPS. So how I'm used to thinking of it. But yeah, delta V. So we have to spend 9. There's a minimum of 2, but we're actually having to spend 1 moving the fuel itself. So we go from, if we send all the fuel, in which case the excess unspent fuel is going to be left at the moon, we're going to spend 142 propellant. If we send it with a minimum propellant, we only have to send 76.4. Most of that is getting off of Earth. Very little of that is actually being spent flying to the moon. We're actually going to spend 3 tons of it going to the moon. And the flight cost, right? So if we send it with the full fuel, we're going to spend half this fuel getting to the moon. And the other half will be left at the moon. If we send it at the minimum, nothing gets left at the moon, but this is a ship that also gets consumed when it arrives at the moon. So we'll send the minimum here. I'm probably overthinking, but that's what you do in these sort of spreadsheety games. You overthink things. And again, we're going to let time pass. So we've constructed the probe. This will complete the moment the Iris is completed, and then it will... We've already set it up to deliver itself. Oh, in the meantime, I should get my Falcon shipping stuff to space. So in orbit, click on orbit. We're going to want to build a orbital shipyard and build stuff in space to save on mass. So to build that, I need 150 alloys, 50 polymers, and 25 electronics in space. So we want to take something from Earth to deliver to Earth orbit via, and we haven't unlocked physical mission, so we had to sort of do it the hard way. Via the orbital payload container. Our Falcon can carry 42 tons per trip. At the end of every trip, it can come back and effectively be reused. We need 50 tons of polymers dragged up, so we'll tell it to bring up 42, which is what the Falcon can carry. Load it on the Falcon, and send it up. And that mission, obviously, isn't waiting on anything, so it'll actually launch on April the 2nd, 3-day delay. Let's time advance. And it has, or construction equipment on Earth is completed. It is also put in orbit the 42 polymers. So in orbit, we're gonna still want more alloys. We're gonna want more electronics. So 25 electronics, another 8 polymer. Or 25 electronics, 8 polymer. So we can again plan that mission up. We can assign this launch vehicle for the mission, even though it's not ready to launch for another 20 days. But that's easy to do. So Earth orbit. Early on, before we get cyclical missions, this can be a little tedious. It's also one reason why you might want larger rockets. We went the Falcon because it builds quickly. Not because it's the optimal choice. And we want 25 electronics. We'll probably want to drag more up there eventually for building other stuff. But 25 for the moment, 8 polymer, and then I need to buy alloy. So let's go to the world market. We're going to buy... not the maximum amount. I'm going to buy... let's say 200. That's more than we need, but I'll buy 200 for the moment. And then we want this to get up to 42, which is 9? Yeah. Once again, we assign that to the Falcon, and we task that with launching to orbit. Now, there will be a greater delay on this one. It will be launching on May the 25th, but we can accept that while waiting for things to go. The Iris has completed. It's now going to be delivered to the moon. And our transit path here is going to where the moon is going to be. And obviously it's launching now. The Iris is not the fastest of space vehicles. And it kind of makes you watch the transit here. There we go. Contract complete. Explore Luna. Touchdown confirmed. Data feed established. We will be getting survey data on the resource deposit soon, finding out what riches lay on the moon. So the next one is lunar landing. It's time for a grand return to the moon. Let's construct our most powerful launch vehicle, a spacecraft capable of bringing crew to the moon and back. We might not be the first humans there, but we will make sure to be the ones remembered. So this is going to have us research the Stratos, introducing us to the research system. I opened up with introducing us to the research system, so we're a little bit ahead there. We do have Stratos research. We got to construct one. We're working on that. We need to deliver a crew compartment from Earth directly to the Luna and bring it back within 10 days. So, easy enough quest. At this point, we'll go from having 1 contract to having 2 contracts with exploring Mars and the space dock. And then on the moon, so we can see that the satellite is still finding there's still more resources to be found on the moon. The probe has arrived, and it will start going through all the places we found and checking to see how accessible they are. So we're going to let some more time pass, because we're waiting for... actually, we're waiting for the Eagle to be built, so we've got something that we can launch our Stratos on. It's telling us to build an Eagle to do the launch. Okay. The Eagle isn't done, but sure. Sure can. And then on the planet, we're still working through things. Vehicle assembly takes quite a while to build. Launch pad is getting pretty close to completion. We've actually moved on to starting the research lab because the construction equipment is so fast in comparison. Okay, Falcon has been to orbit and returned. So now in orbit, we've got 25 electronics, 50 polymers, 17 alloys. We're going to want to try to get the whole 150 up there so we can do the orbital shipyard. So we're going to go ahead and queue up another launch mission to get alloys to space. Orbital payload container. This is going to be alloys. Only 42 alloys. Carried up by the Falcon. Do I have a crew compartment? Yes, we have a crew compartment, so I don't have to build one. I suppose I can actually plan out the mission to the moon. So let's go ahead and plan that moon mission. So this is going to be Earth to moon. We're going to use the Stratos as our spacecraft. We are going to add the crew compartment. Keep it simple. I'm actually going to go ahead and buy extra food, because we're going to want more food on the moon. And we've got a capacity to carry 100 tons. I will fill up all the extra volume with supplies. So we can bring extra food to the moon. We don't necessarily need it for this quest, but we'll want it in the future, so drag extra supplies to the moon. And then we're going to launch on the Eagle. The Eagle could carry 800 tons, but our Stratos can only carry 100, so we're being limited by the Stratos, not the Eagle. Now, the Stratos has some capacity to carry food. I could set this lower, we can set this higher. We're actually going to set it high, take all the supplies to the moon. Same thing with the fuel. At the moment, I don't mind leaving extra food and fuel at the moon until we've got the ability to make those at the moon. So stockpiling a little bit extra there, I think we'll be fine. That way we've always got the ability to use it when we need to come back. Although, when we do get to the moon, for the return trip, we're going to minimize what we're taking so we can leave stuff at the moon. And then we're going to let time pass while waiting for things to build. Our launch pad is completed, so we're going to be able to spend less fuel to get things to space. We found water on Mars. So the satellite is doing stuff. Continues to do stuff. Yeah. The satellite continues to do stuff even once you finish. So in this case, we've finished up the moon. It's done with the moon. It got bored and started looking at Mars. So we can tell. We click on Mars. It's found metal at Mars. It's found water at Mars. We could specify that it go look at particular things first. At the moment, it's sort of got a priority list that it just goes through by default. We do have stuff in queue again. It has actually sort of munched what we have into queue up into our existing missions. Luna 6 here is got all our active vehicles, so just gotta be patient here. Okay, we got more stuff in orbit. We got... What's that orbit? I think that was orbit. No, the planned mission's still up there. Okay, never mind. It's something finish. Oh, our Eagle's done. A Eagle's done. Did I queue up a second Eagle? I might have queued up a second Eagle. Yeah, I'm not going to use that Eagle in case that's a glitch. I think that might be a glitch. I didn't remember queuing with a second Eagle. Okay, our Falcon is back. Let's plan a mission from Earth to Earth orbit. Again, we're still transporting the alloys up to Earth orbit. On that Falcon. Orbital construction completed down here on Earth. we're going to want to take that to space. And that probably has to go up on a eagle. So we're going to probably want more eagles. Let's get another one under construction. I'm a little tempted to launch this eagle in the meantime. Yeah, let's get that eagle launching anyway. If it's a glitch that it's available, then it's a glitch. Okay, orbital payload container. We want to get our orbital constructor to space. Orbital constructors, once you deliver them somewhere, can't be transported anywhere. So delivering it to space, and it's going to be stuck there when it's up there, but that's fine. And then we're going to have, because we're transporting it on the Eagle, we're going to have 800 tons of carrying capacity. What am I missing in orbit? Probably another 100 tons of alloy, so we'll get 100 tons of alloy up there. Do you want to drag a bunch of fuel up there? Yeah, let's drag a bunch of fuel up there. Let's go up... another 650 tons of fuel in the orbit. Okay. Load it up on the Eagle. There we go. Our Eagle has launched and has returned. I'm working on mining modules. These mining modules we were going to want to ship out to the moon. We can start mining stuff on the moon. Again, on the moon, if you watch other people do Let's Play contents of this, they're probably playing the early access version. And that version, I think, has been updated to have a metal deposit on the moon. So on the moon here, we've got silicon, so we can make glass. We've got fissiles, so we can do fissile stuff. We haven't actually unlocked the tech to mine this. Same with the helium. So initially, we're just going to be able to mine silicon and water. If we transport up carbon, we can turn the water into food/supplies. Water can also be turned into rocket fuel. So instead of launching rocket fuel from Earth, we can make it on the moon. That's basically what we're going to try to do. More mining modules completing. Our Falcon is back. Oh, I've got everything I need in space, right? So let's pop up to orbit and get our orbital shipyard under construction. What's the... Now, I suppose there is an argument that you get more fuel by shipping stuff to space than doing the refining in space. Might be a little bit more mass efficient from a launch standpoint. Okay, we got an orbital shipyard building here, and then that will let us build our spacecraft in space. So I'm going to want more alloy in space. Going to want to build Stratos and Irises up there. You want to start shipping that up? Oh, I will. So let's get that Eagle, or get the Falcon going up to orbit. Payload container. We're going to move up some rare metals, which we need for this building the spaceships. We're going to only be with Care 42. That's enough for 2 spaceships. Although we'll have to get polymers up there, and I'll have to actually buy polymers because we're not making them right now. And we're still finding more stuff on Mars. Okay. So the Falcon is back. Let's buy 42 polymer. Oh, that's fuel. That's not what I want. Polymer. There we go. And then we can get the Falcon carrying the polymer up to orbit. And I suppose I could send... We got another Eagle that's going to be ready to launch in 12 days. I can send that up to orbit with a bunch of stuff. So, for our shipyard building, or shipbuilding, I'm probably going to build a couple Stratuses up there. Say 2 Stratuses and Iris. Yeah. So let's say we want 260 alloy in orbit. That means I need more alloy, so let's buy some alloy off the market. And then we'll transport some other stuff up to space. So, plan a mission from Earth to Earth orbit. Forward to payload container. We got 800 tons of carrying capacity, so we want all of that alloy really to be in space at the moment. So all the alloy on the thing. Probably want the carbon on the moon, so let's get the carbon to space. What else do I want on the moon? Probably want our mines. Let's get our mines launched. They'll be a little idle in orbit, but because we're waiting for the Stratos to come back and pick this stuff up, take it to the moon. We can deliver it to orbit, and then it's up there for when we need it. We'll probably want 1 construction equipment at the moon. And yeah, of the stuff I've built, that's probably what we want transported right now. I've got more space, so we'll fill up the remaining space with fuel for transit back and forth to the moon. There we go. And of course, we load that on the next Eagle. Put it in space. Suppose with construction on Earth, let's get some other things going on Earth that we want elsewhere. We're going to want a mobile fuel refinery, probably set up on the moon, until we can at least get people up there to do construction and operational jobs. So let's get a mobile refinery going. I always got to buy the stuff we don't have. Let's get a mobile hab going. Again, plop that on the moon to accelerate construction up there. The mobile hab is going to house 20 people. So let's get enough crew compartments that we could technically transport 20 people to the moon in one go. Whether I bring them back or not will be a little bit up for debate. Bring the crew compartments back. I mean, the people we're going to leave there, but people in the crew compartments we're going to leave there. So the basic power, the radioisotope generator would not be too bad, so let's get that up there. Yeah, I think that's a good start. Everything else I think that we'd want to build, it would have to be built there. And we built the research laboratory a while ago, which is, in theory, providing us a tech speed bonus. In the background, we have been working on the Hermes. The Hermes is 350 days of research, so we're about halfway through it. Found oxygen on Mars. Okay. The crew compartments build pretty quickly. Found metal on Mars, which is not super surprising. Okay, we've had a couple launches. So we've got stuff in space. Actually, arguably for the moment, I think I got everything I want launched up to orbit. Other than what we're building. Once we've got the mobile refinery, the mobile hab, and the radio generator, we might shove that to orbit, but those need to build first. We're not ready to send the crew compartment to the orbit. We probably want to send that straight to the moon instead of picking up stuff along the way. Waiting for June of... Looking into June 2020 start? That's a bit far out. in 2022 start. That's... Something broke on that mission. I cancel this mission. Try again. Yeah, getting a spacecraft. Okay, so we borked something with the spacecraft. We can get one building again on Earth, Stratos on Earth. This is the demo of an early access game, so breaking things happens. Have we finished the orbital constructor? Another 29 days out. Okay, so we got our orbital shipyard complete. Build some Stratos in Earth orbit. So we got 2 being built in orbit, 1 being built on the planet. The 1 being built on the planet is being built. And then we have Eagles and Falcons ready to launch that stuff when we're ready for that. Yeah, I think we glitched it somehow. Something was wrong with the timing. So other than the Stratos disappearing off into the void, things do appear to be working. We're due for a part break in here, so if you're watching on YouTube, we'll have another part up tomorrow. Again, this is the demo version of Solar Expanse. We're going to play out the full 30 years of the demo. Although, we're going to record three more parts during this play session, or 2 more parts during this play session. 3 days from now, I'm going to record another 4 parts. 3 days from then, I'm going to record another 4 parts. If we're not done by the end of then, I'll probably end up playing the last couple parts out on sort of when I'm free. So they might not be streamed. But they'll get uploaded to YouTube at some point. We'll see how the schedule works. But at that point, we'll be swapping back to Shadow Empire, because it should be the end of the Shadow Empire poll. This is effectively the second part of a stream where I actually started on Shadow Empire. But yeah, I hope everyone has been enjoying. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll have another part up tomorrow. If you're watching on Twitch, feel free to hang around. We're at the middle of the stream, where I usually take the break to go replace a cup of tea. I've been doing a lot of talking in this one, so I definitely need that cup of tea. So until the next part, I'm going to wish you all the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part and/or stream, and bye for now.